Have you ever poured your entire heart into someone only to feel like you were draining yourself dry? Today, we're diving into a story about Leo and Ella, a story that explores the painful truth that loving someone with all your being doesn't guarantee they'll love you back in the same way. This is a journey about recognizing when a relationship is toxic and finding the strength to choose yourself even when it feels impossible. Our story begins with Leo, a man who loved with an open heart. He was the kind of person who saw the best in everyone, who believed in second chances, and who would move mountains for someone he cared about. And the person he cared about most was Ella. To Leo, Ella was like a firework, dazzling, captivating, and utterly intoxicating. She lived for the thrill of the moment, chasing pleasure and excitement wherever she could find it. Her philosophy was simple: life is short, so why not enjoy it to the fullest? Leo was mesmerized by her free spirit, her infectious laughter, and the way she made every day feel like an adventure. He fell for her hard and fast. He didn't just love her. He adored her. He became her anchor, her biggest supporter, her go-to person for everything. When Ella had a whim to travel across the country for a music festival, Leo cashed in his savings to make it happen. When she decided she wanted to start a new, expensive hobby every other week, Leo was the one funding her fleeting passions. He'd work extra shifts, take on side gigs, and put his own dreams on hold, all to see that brilliant smile on her face. He convinced himself this was what love was: selfless sacrifice. He thought that by giving her everything she wanted, he was showing her the depth of his devotion, and that eventually she would see him, truly see him, and love him for it. His friends saw the warning signs. They gently tried to talk to him. "Leo, are you sure about this?" His best friend Mark would ask. "It seems like you're always giving and she's always taking." But Leo would just shake his head, a determined look in his eyes. "You don't understand her like I do," he'd say. "She just has a different way of showing she cares. When she's happy, I'm happy." He was so deep in his own narrative, so convinced of the beautiful love story he was building, that he couldn't see the cracks forming in the foundation. He was blinded by the idea of the love he wanted, not the reality of the love he was getting. Ella, for her part, was not malicious, at least not in a calculated way. She was simply living her life according to her own rules. She enjoyed Leo's generosity, his unwavering support, and the stability he provided. He was her safety net, the one who would always be there to catch her when her spontaneous adventures went awry. She appreciated him in her own way. She'd call him her rock, her hero. But her affection was conditional, tied to what he could provide. Her love was for the lifestyle he enabled, not for the man himself. She was a hedonist, a seeker of pleasure, and Leo had become her primary source of it. The turning point came subtly at first, then like a tidal wave, Leo lost his job. The company he'd dedicated years to downsized, and suddenly his steady income was gone. The first few weeks were a blur of panic and uncertainty. He tried to stay positive for Ella, assuring her they'd be okay. "It's just a temporary setback," he promised. "I'll find something new soon." Initially, Ella was supportive, offering words of encouragement. But as the weeks turned into a month and Leo's job search yielded no results, her patience began to wear thin. The spontaneous weekend trips stopped. The fancy dinners were replaced with home-cooked meals. The constant stream of gifts and luxuries dried up. And as the material benefits disappeared, so did Ella's sunny disposition. Her laughter became rare, replaced by sighs of frustration. "I'm so bored," she'd complain, scrolling through her phone, looking at pictures of her friends on lavish vacations. The adventures they used to have were now just memories, and Ella wasn't one to live in the past. One evening, Leo came home, exhausted from another day of fruitless job applications, hoping for a quiet night in. He found Ella dressed to go out. "Where are you going?" he asked, a knot forming in his stomach. "Out with some friends," she said, barely looking at him. "It's Sarah's birthday. We're going to that new club downtown." Leo's heart sank. "But we can't afford that right now, Ella." She finally turned to him, her expression cold. "Well, I am not going to put my life on hold just because you are in a slump, Leo. I need to have fun." And with that, she walked out the door, leaving Leo standing alone in the silent apartment that was once filled with her laughter. That night was the first crack in Leo's denial. He sat on the couch, the silence of the room deafening. For the first time, he allowed himself to think about what his friends had been saying. He replayed countless moments in his mind. The times he'd cancelled plans with his own family to cater to her whims, the debts he'd accumulated to fund her lifestyle, the dreams he'd shelved for her. He had been so focused on making her happy that he hadn't stopped to ask if he was happy himself, and the honest answer was no. He was exhausted, broke, and lonelier than ever, even when she was right beside him. The final blow came a week later. Leo managed to land a promising job interview. It was for a position that was a step down from his previous role. But it was a start, a way to get back on his feet. He was nervous but hopeful. He told Ella about it, hoping she'd be excited for him. Instead, she scoffed, "Is that the best you can do? The pay is barely enough to cover our old lifestyle." The words hit Leo like a physical punch. Our old lifestyle. It was never our lifestyle. It was her lifestyle, paid for by him. In that moment, the illusion shattered completely. He saw Ella not as the vibrant, free-spirited woman he loved, but as someone who valued him only for what he could provide. His love, his sacrifices, his devotion, they weren't reciprocated. They were just resources to be consumed. He was not a partner. He was a provider, and now that he could no longer provide in the way she was accustomed to, he was no longer of use. He looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. "You never loved me," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "You just loved what I could do for you." Ella didn't deny it. She just shrugged, a look of annoyance on her face. "Don't be so dramatic, Leo. We had a good time, didn't we?" A good time, that's all it was to her. All those years, all that love he poured out, was just a good time. That was the end. Leo packed a bag that night. Walking away was the hardest thing he had ever done. Every step felt like he was tearing a piece of his own heart out. He still loved the idea of her, the woman he thought she was, but he knew with a painful certainty that staying would destroy what was left of him. He moved in with his friend Mark, feeling broken, empty, and foolish. He had given everything and was left with nothing. The weeks that followed were a painful process of healing. He had to learn to live for himself again. He had to rebuild not just his finances, but his sense of self-worth. He started therapy, something he never would have considered before. He talked through the pain, the anger, and the deep-seated feeling that he wasn't enough. Slowly, with the support of his friends and a therapist, he began to understand that his value as a person was never tied to what he could give someone else. He realized that true love isn't a transaction. It's not about buying affection or sacrificing your own well-being to please someone else. Real love is a partnership. It's about mutual respect, support, and appreciation. It's about feeling seen, valued, and cherished for who you are, not for what you have. Real love should energize you, not drain you. It should build you up, not break you down. Leo's story is a powerful reminder for all of us. It's so easy to get lost in loving someone, to lose pieces of yourself along the way, but you have to remember to check in with yourself. Is this relationship nurturing you, or is it depleting you? Does this person love you, or do they love the convenience of you? Caring for someone deeply is a beautiful thing, but it should never come at the cost of your own mental, emotional, or financial health. Finding the courage to walk away from a relationship that is hurting you is an immense act of self-love. It's painful and it's scary, but it is also the first step toward finding a love that is real and a life that is truly your own. Leo eventually found a new job, reconnected with his own hobbies, and started to rebuild his life on his own terms. He learned that the most important relationship he will ever have is the one with himself. He learned to value himself first, so that he would never again allow someone else to devalue him. Remember, you deserve to be in a relationship where you feel valued, respected, and loved for exactly who you are. Don't ever settle for being someone's echo of indulgence. You are the main character in your own story. Thank you for watching. And if this story resonated with you, please follow for more content.